my preferred method for working much of the time because I don't have to continuously save and all that, reopen, etc. Okay, great. So let's just take a look here. Now what we've done is you can see our mask over here. I've masked out the area where Curtis had an expression that wasn't ideal. Now we've got both of them sharp. We've got the expressions that we want. And now we just have a couple other adjustments to make here. So let's zoom out just a little bit. There we go. And now what I'll do is I can use these tools down here. There are a bunch of different tools that we have here. One of them is to merge the layers. So that's going to be the next step that I want to do. I just want to go double check, make sure everything is good, that I haven't left anything out, nothing's looking wonky. Everything looks pretty good. I'm satisfied with this. My mask looks good. I don't see any holes in the mask. So I can click this merge layer button. That's just going to merge everything. We'll just wait for that to merge. All right, perfect. So you can see here now we have one layer. So now we're ready to do some additional stuff. I'm going to take my clone tool, and I want to get rid of this little bit of light up here because I find it distracting. So I'm going to just go over here. I'm going to hold down my Option key. You can see here that my cursor now changes to a little target symbol. That's just going to be where I'm going to sample from. And then I'm going to go over here. I'm going to actually, one of the things I need to do is make my opacity 50%. So I'm just going to scale that back down to 50%. I find it easier to build as I go. Also, I want to increase my feather, up a little bit, keep it nice and soft. And I'll increase my brush size. And you can see that we've got a kind of a preview of what we're going to get. And I'll just do a couple of taps, take out that light. Let's wait for things to catch up. There we go. Okay, fantastic. Now you can see here also at the top that we've got a bit of a little artifacting from the last image that they weren't the same, obviously because they weren't registered properly. So we've got a little bit of an edge there that we need to deal with. So I'll just crop that out. Just go through and select the crop tool, and I will drag down a nice crop marquee, and just hold down my Shift key to keep the aspect ratio constrained properly. I'll move this down here, and I'll just move my whole bounding box over a little bit, and you can see here that now I've gotten rid of that part that I didn't want, and I'll just hit the Enter key. It's processing the crop, and we're good to go. So now we have a good original. Now I can start moving forward based on this. This is kind of my baseline starting point. Everything that I did up until this point was kind of getting there. Let me just boost my volume a little bit. Hopefully that should be better for you guys. All right, so next thing that we're going to do, as I said, this is where we started in Browse. We went over the layers. We took care of what we had to do in layers, married those two images together, did our masking, got everything we needed done, did a little bit of cropping, did a little bit of cloning to take out stuff that was distracting. Now we're ready to go over to Enhance, which is sort of, if you didn't have to do any layer-based work, this would be one, typically, unless it was a perfectly exposed image and everything was good to go. Typically, I always do a little bit of tweaking. This would be my first stop, would be Enhance. So one of the things I'll do is kind of assess the image, look at it, see what I can do. I think I want to brighten this image up a little bit. I want to give it a little bit of contrast. Maybe I'll fool around with the highlights a little bit. And everything's a process of assessment and judging and, bringing things a little too far, maybe taking things back, etc. So sometimes you make one adjustment and then the next adjustment, you need to go back. So we just continue working the image and making it look the best that we can. All right, so let's go over here and let's get our brightness. I want to come up a little bit in the brightness, not down. Let's bring it down a little bit. Let's say, yeah, that's looking a little bit better. That's like 2 on my sliders being funky. Let's just go in here and do a value. So let's say 3. And let's boost our contrast. And these are fairly subtle adjustments. I don't really need to go crazy with this. It's already a fairly good looking image, but we just want to make it as the best that it can be. highlights looking good there. And we can always see where we started out and what we've done thus far. We can use our preview button down here on the lower left just by clicking on the preview. Clicking on there. And that is without our adjustments. And without, and then with. Sorry, this computer is lagging. Okay, there we go. So you can see it's got a little brighter, a little more contrast. I think a better looking image overall. There are other things that you can do in here. We can take care of temperature, brightness, contrast, vibrance, vignetting, detail, lots of things that we can do in the enhance module. However, I want to do some of this stuff as we move forward. There are going to be effects that I'm going to do. Other, all of these things will be dealt with later. So you can take care of a lot. You pretty much do everything that you need to in here if you weren't going to do any effects. But I know that some of these elements are going to be incorporated in the effects that we're going to do moving forward. So I'm not going to do those at this point. All right. But what I am going to do is I'm going to click on Portrait. And Portrait is going to save what I've done, and it's going to move me into the Portrait module. And there we'll take care of some of the skin touching, heavy lifting, and fine-tuning details of retouching and stuff like that, and some eye whitening, and then we'll be ready to move forward. So it's just applying all the effects, kind of walks you through what it's doing. There are also presets over there I should have mentioned on the left. There are corrections and enhancements and all sorts of stuff if you just wanted to sort of see what's available. That's a great resource. Maybe we'll take a look at that next time we're back in Enhance. All right, so now we are in Perfect Portrait, and what it's doing is it is now, the software has built-in face recognition software, and it's finding the faces in the image, and then we'll be allowed to choose each face individually. You can see here that now we've got a green bounding box around Suzanne's face. That's saying, hey, I found a face. This is the face that you're going to be working on. You click on it when you're ready to go. And then it's got all the corrections that are, or the values for the corrections that are sort of standard, and then you can tweak them as needed, to your taste. So we'll just click on Suzanne. And when I do that, we are going to see a representation of our mask. These little handles are basically a representation of our mask. And what that means is these areas inside these bounding box areas around the eyes and the mouth are areas that are not having that softening applied to them, because they're typically areas that we don't want softening applied to. We want those things sharp. We want the skin to be a little softer, but we don't want eyes and mouths to be softer. So we'll just arrange those, kind of dial them in so that they are specific to our image and our client. This will just take a minute while it renders. My computer is clearly a little slow today, so just bear with me, guys, as I move these around. There we go. Do this one next. And you may be able to see that as we do this, you'll see that her eyes are getting brighter because there are brightness settings for the eyes as part of these controls, this is really cool. It takes care of a lot of different things at one time, and that really is what it's all about. We're all looking to produce quality images, but with not killing our time and our bottom line. So we need tools that help us to do that, and the Perfect Photo Suite is definitely the tool for that. So now that I've done the eyes, I'll just go over here and adjust the lips. And you can see here we've got these two middle lines. Now that would be if there were teeth that were showing, I can expand these two lines, and that's going to allow me to also whiten the teeth. So in addition to having teeth whitening controls independently for the eyes, we also have independent control for the teeth, which is pretty powerful stuff. So let's just move this over here. Wait for that to read. There we go. And we'll take this one and move it over so we have the right thing going on. Cool, close enough. Okay, now clearly you don't want to see these all the time. You want to dial in your mask. You want to make sure that you've got everything. We can take a look at that mask actually. Let's take a look over at our mask. Red. And you can see here what's going on. So we've got these items are masked, right? Everything in red is masked. It's done a really good job of picking up the skin. These are areas where we want retouching to be applied, and these controls for that are over here on the right. So, excellent. So we'll just go over here and we will click on our after. That's going to bring us back. So you can see here that how these are defining our mask, these these control points and bounding boxes, etc. So what we can do though is when we don't want to see those, it's easy, it's a lot easier to work without them. They're very useful, but they've served their purpose, and now we can turn them off. We don't have to see them. We can just use the hide controls button, kind of turn them off, which is useful. So now what I like to do is I can control blemishes and smoothing depending on, and that's clearly all going to depend on the level that you need for your particular client. Some will need more, some will need less. I would advise and always opt to, temper and work with, don't go overboard, don't be heavy-handed. I really try and do just the bare minimum. I want my clients to have skin tone and texture. I want them to look natural. I don't want to overdo it. So I typically scale these things back quite a bit. And then I'll use the clone tool or the healing brush to correct other areas where I need to. And that's what we'll do with Curtis, because typically guys really don't require that much in the way of skin smoothing. So let's use this. Okay, good. I think that looks good. And let's zoom out also. Another really important technique when you're working on skin, when you're working on basically anything, densities and contrast and all the rest of it, is to zoom in and out and look at what you're doing, because things can look very different once you zoom out, and something that you didn't see close up can be really evident, and vice versa. So let's zoom out, wait for this. There we go, and I'm just going to use my hand tool to kind of move things over here a little bit, get it more centered. You can see here we've got some nice tool tips also, these guidance boxes, which kind of walk you through and let you know if you're new to the software. It is very intuitive software to use, very easy to ramp up, not a huge learning curve. So, that's a really a positive. All right, so we'll just close this. Now I'm going to go over to my retouch brush. And I'm just going to work on a few little things here and there. And just waiting for it to load in. There we go. You can see here when I do it, I get a little red mask indicating where it is doing its thing. Just taking care of a couple things. She's got really pretty great skin, so we don't really need to do a whole lot with her. I'll probably go in and reduce some of the freckles and stuff. It's a real judgment call. You have to be careful. You want people to look like themselves, but I just try and minimize and soften things a little bit where necessary. Okay, so for Curtis, we're going to go in and we're going to do a little bit more, since we didn't really apply any softening on him. I'm just going to go in and remove stuff that needs to be removed, do some nice retouching and blending work on him. Typically, that works for guys. We'll just kind of clean things up a little bit. Guys are tough, so got to keep them looking cool and tough. And we'll just go in here. It's going to be things like razor burn and the odd blemish and stuff like that. Let's go in here. And here. We'll do a little before and after in a minute too. There we go. And you can see, if you take note over on the control panel over on the right, you can see that we've got controls for eye brightening, like I mentioned, and teeth whitening, and all that stuff is independent of one another, which is really powerful to be able to do that all independently and have a mask built for you on the fly. Pretty amazing stuff. Definitely a huge time saver. Okay, and I'm selling these portraits large. These are wall portraits, so the quality of the output is really pretty phenomenal. So I'm just taking out some of these more noticeable areas here, highlights, or rather freckles. There we go. Good. And when you have software like the Perfect Photo Suite, it allows you to be a little obsessive, which I definitely am, because I want things to look good. I want them to look great, but I don't want to kill myself and spend a million hours doing it. But a lot of the heavy lifting has been done for me, so now I can kind of go in and finesse and fine-tune images and really make them their best. And that makes a difference. Clients really, while they may not exactly be able to pinpoint exactly what it is, it really resonates with them, and the sales are proof of that. Okay. So that's looking pretty good. I like the way that looks. I think we're in a good position to move on. We could do a little bit more, but let's just keep going. Let's see here. What did I not cover? Um, I think we're good. Okay, we're going to do other stuff too. So we'll come back to some other tools and some other images as we move through this. Let's go over. I think that what I want to do now, I could move now to effects, and there's other stuff that I could do in effects. But I think what I want to do is I'm seeing this as a black and white image, a classic kind of silvery black and white image. So the next thing that I want to do is go over here to black and white. Again, when I click on this, it's going to save everything that I've done. It's going to apply it, and it's going to seamlessly bring me into this next module without having to leave the suite, which is really sweet. Couldn't resist, guys. Sorry. Quick coffee break. See, if things were too fast, we couldn't take a sip of coffee. That's really what it's all about. All right. So now we're going to jump in here. Now this may pick up what I did last time. No, it didn't. Okay, good. Because I did a little trial run on this. So here's a good looking black and white. It's not bad. It's not a bad thing, but I think I can do a lot better. It looks a little too cool for me. Um, I want something that is a little more silvery, a little more classic. So this is where our presets really come in. Now you can do all sorts of stuff on your own. We've got filter presets. You can go and you can tweak individual colors. You can boost the red layer, and let's say if you do that, all of a sudden it's going to really darken. Oh, let's darken. Let's go the other way. Sorry. That would typically bring down lips and things like that. That's pretty dramatic. So there's a lot that you can do on your own, but I think what I'm going to do, I'm just go back to 0 on that. But some of the real power and time-saving capability of this suite, I think, lies in the presets. And I'm not one for just using some straight out of the box. I typically tweak and layer and do all sorts of other stuff, but it's a great jumping off point. So let's go over here to our 21st century modern digital, and these are in the presets pane, and you've got lots of different ways that you can interact with your presets, one of which is a disclosure triangle. I can fly this open here, and it's going to show me all of the various options that I have. But the way that I like to work with it is if you click on this little grid icon over here, it's going to bring up an entire grid where you have, I think, a better view, to my way of thinking, of what is what you have available. You know what? I think I chose another one. I think I was in 20th century classic silver. Yeah, that's right. So let's go click on that one. There we go. Okay, so you can see here we've got just a ton of amazing options, and some with borders. Again, there's just so much. It's such a robust suite that you've got just a ton of stuff in here to choose from. If you want a sloppy border, it's there for you. If you want a vintage look, you've got vintage looks, and there are entire vintage looks available as well, but they've incorporated some of them into the black and white set, just this one part of the black and white sets. Down here, you've got a little slider, which allows you to vary the thumbnail size, so you can, depending on your monitor and what you're working with, you can sort of zoom in and out and find what works for you. I'm going to choose city streets. I think that it's kind of a nice compromise between Ansel in the Valley and city streets. It doesn't have quite as much clarity, doesn't have quite as much detail. I still want to keep it soft and classic, but it's got that silvery quality. It's got that bit of contrast that I want. So I'm going to select that. It's going to automatically take it and apply it. And I think that that looks really nice. I like that quite a bit. Okay, now, are we done? Sure, we could be done, but I think that there are still things that we can do to make this a better looking image. So let's see. What I want to do first is I want to bring a little bit of brightness, localized brightness, into the eyes. So there are lots of ways to do that, but within black and white, one of the things that you can do, one of the really easy things to do, is just go over here to your brightness brush. Just click on that, and it'll load in, and we'll have a bunch of options at the top here, some tool controls. We have size, we have feather, we have the amount. I'm going to take my feather up considerably to about, let's say about 80%, just to give myself a nice soft brush. And my mode is lighten. I want to make sure that I'm lightening, not darkening. You can lighten and darken with this brush, which is great. And let's see, what else? The amount. I'm going to keep the amount at 20% because this way I can build as I go. Or if it's all at 100%, then I'm kind of stuck with that. But 20% I can keep painting and lightening and kind of season to taste. I'm going to turn off the perfect brush, and I am going to zoom in. I'll just use my Command plus key to zoom in both of their eyes, and that should give me close enough. We'll just wait for that to render for a second, and I'm going to just take my brush diameter down considerably. There we go. And we're just waiting for software, computer more than software to catch up, so bear with me, guys. If you have any questions, this is a good time. You can just type them in, and Liz and I will address them later in a little bit. Gosh, the time just flies. It's amazing. I've got like tons of images here to show you, and I can see we're already just kind of plowing through our time. All right, so what I'm going to do here is just brighten up the eyes a little bit. There we go. We're starting to render. Brighten things up a little bit, give a little bit more life to the eyes. I'm going to do the same thing. I went over my, I was never good with coloring books. All right, and there we go. And you can really kind of see it with Curtis. Just tighten that up a little bit. All right, there we go. And let's zoom out. Yeah, see, I think that that is looking better. A little more pop to the eyes, a little more sizzle. Now, there are all sorts of other things that we can do, but I kind of like this. We can crank up the detail a little bit. Let's just try a little more detail, see what we get. I'm going to go too crazy with it. I want to keep things looking soft, but we could try a little detail just to give it a little bit of a little more sizzle. Let's try a little bit more. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. Let's try a little before and after. Click over here on our preview, click off and on, and see kind of where we started out. Preview off, and let's turn it on. There we go. So I think that looks pretty great. I mean, we started off with two images that on their own would not work well together, that were not strong on there, so we brought them together. We created one image, we then tuned it up, we went in and we took care of some blemishes, density issues, stuff like that, and we ended up with this. Now, we could do a couple other things. We could throw a vignette on this if we wanted to. We could continue to do some painting. We could do burning and dodging. I can kind of darken things, darken the shoulder a little bit, and maybe take down the veil, etc. Really bring in some of the, highlight more of what's going on. We could do a little bit of that. Why not? Let's go back over to our lightness brush. We're still at 20%, and let's increase our brush. Make sure our feather is good. We're at 20%. So now let's just go in and woo, too much. Let's take our brush down to, let's try 5. And now let's just go in here and paint just a little bit. There we go. And it's always hard in a webinar. I would, finesse things and tune things up a little bit more, but I'm just going to change to darken now, just for the sake of time. I'm not going to completely freak on every little thing. And go in here and just take this down a little bit, and this down. And there we go. And I can just kind of create a handmade vignette, do a little painting there, and do a little painting here. There we go. I think that's looking pretty great. Pretty tuned up. I mean, in short order. And granted, I mean, I'm here teaching you how to do this and talking you through it. You can see how doing it on your own, once you have a little bit of familiarity with the tools, you can really power through these images and create really, really sophisticated, polished-looking images that your clients are going to love. Right? All right, so let's save this image. Lizzie, how are we doing? Do we have time for another one? I've got just all sorts of stuff to talk about here, but it always seems like I only get through one image.
Well, if you can do it in 5 minutes or less, then yes. But we're already hitting 45 after.
Oh,
so it's been
all right. Let's try. All right, let's try another one from these guys. Let's see. I want to show you. So that we did something kind of more softer. Now let's try something a little more edgy and just wait for this to do its thing and bring us back. And you'll be able to see the before and after in a more dramatic way once we are back in. Let's just click save. All right. I don't know. We went back to here. All right, so here you can see where we were. These two images are the images that we started out with, and here's our finished image. So pretty nice change. All right, let's see what we can do in a couple minutes here with our image of them in front of City Hall. All right, so real quick, let's go over to Enhance, and we're going to edit as a copy. We're going to click OK. Wait for that to load in. All right, beautiful. And I'm going to brighten things up a little bit. There we go. Add some contrast. Okay, good. I want to see it a little bit brighter. Cool. Okay, and again, we could do a lot of different stuff in here, but I'm going to keep it the way that it is for now. Let's go over to effects. And for this, I see this as something, gritty and grungy, a little bit different. I want to desaturate the color a little bit to start with. And there are lots of different ways to do that, but since we're really trying to work quickly, I will probably use some of the presets and then dial them in as I go. So when you're in Perfect Effects, it's a layer-based workflow, and you'll see here that we have our base layer, and then we've got an empty layer, and that is you're always going to want to add an empty layer every time that you do an effect, or else you'll overwrite the effect that you did previously. And we've got plus and minus buttons here to control those layers. So right now, the first time out, we have a layer to work with. So I'll go over here to Color Enhancer, and let's just select color enhancer. That's going to bring up all of our stuff here. And we'll just reduce these so I can see what I'm doing here. And reduce color is what I want. So I'll select reduce color. And I'm going to scale that back a little bit. I want a little bit more color coming in, so I'm just going to do layer opacity. It's going to allow me to do that. It's going to allow me to bring back some of that color. There we go. Good. So I have a little bit of color. It's a little muted. I like that. It's getting closer to where I want it to be. I'm going to click another layer, click plus to create another layer. And then I'm going to go over here to dynamic contrast. So let's go over and open up the dynamic contrast, and we'll see the options that we have there. So I can see what I'm doing here. All right, so I want to choose soft. I think soft is good, but I still want some of that pop, and soft is going to do. It's going to kind of be a nice mid-ground between the two. It's going to give us some edge, but it's going to keep it soft. It is a wedding image. Lots of nice edge detail. So see that right away, we've got something that is really pretty cool looking. I like the way that is looking. And then we will click OK. We'll click another layer on there. Actually, you know what? Let's go back over to Enhance. We'll go back over to Enhance because I want to do one other thing before we bring this back. I want to show you the power of cropping. Okay, sometimes one of the things that I sell a lot and I do a lot are panoramics, typically a 1:2 ratio, so 15:30 or 20:40. And this image is a perfect image for that. A vertical panoramic would be really well suited for this. So before I apply my vignette, I'm going to do that for this image. So just over here, applying everything that we did so far. And I'm just going to click on that. Let's zoom out a little bit. Do that. And I'll come in here like so. And like so. I just kind of want them in the center. And you can see you have guidelines which help you kind of put them there. And we'll come up here a little bit. So, and then I can use my shift key. Keep it constrained once I have what I want. And I think I'll use that. Okay. Click OK. Bring that in. And now we'll go back over to effects. Oh, I could do a vignette in there. I typically do it in effects, but you can see here that you've got a lot of crossover module to module. So let's go back over to effects, and I still think this could use a little bit of a punch, a little bit of grit to it. But let's take a look at the vignette. Go over to vignette, and let's check it out here. Oh, this was vintage. Sorry, I always click vintage instead of vignette. Let's try subtle. There we go. And now we've got a little, and you can always increase or decrease, and really you have a lot of control. I just chose subtle, but you can go in and you can choose the size and brightness and finesse all of those things. If I wanted a bigger or tighter, I could just use that, and it's going to kind of focus in a little bit more. I think that looks great. So I'll click OK. There, add another layer is what I mean to say when I do that. And then let's just go back into our grunge, see what grunge gives us. Typically that's one of my go-to places. Shift grunge lighter, see what that gives us. I'm going to take that down a little bit. There we go. And let's just do one more thing and then I'll stop, I promise. We'll go to adjustment brush. And I'm going to choose lighten because I want to paint in a little bit of lightness. The adjustment brushes is something that I use all the time. They give you a built-in mask. And now I'm able to go in. I'm going to take my opacity down to 20%. I just want to brighten them up a little bit. Take it down even more. And we'll just go in here and we will brighten them up a little bit. And let's increase it a little bit. There we go. And it's a little heavy-handed. I would finesse it, but you guys get the point. I can also hold down my Option key and reverse it and paint out. So I'm just going to kind of tune that up a little bit, make it a little more subtle, make that correction subtle. All right, well, there you go. I think this is a perfect opportunity to take some questions. So why don't we hand it over back to Liz? I'm sure you guys have lots of questions, and I'm happy to answer them.
We actually had a couple of really good questions in here. There was one, and this is a general question I think that probably a lot of people would really like to know is what camera do you work with, and what is one of your favorite portrait lenses to work with?
Well, as a matter of fact, I just made the move to medium format, so I'm shooting with a Phase 1 IQ250, which I absolutely love. And I've been working a lot with the 85 millimeter leaf shutter lens. I'm a big flash off camera guy, and I definitely would recommend a lot of the images that you've seen are images, or some of them not actually. The ones we worked on did not. These are all natural light, but some of them in the overall selection of images that I had to show you were flash off camera. And one of the nice things about working with artificial light in combination with natural light is you end up having to do a lot less retouching. It's kind of quality in, quality out, um, kind of equation. So you have a lot less work to do. But on the 35 millimeter side of things, Canon Mark III, 5D Mark III, and 1DX. And the 85 1.2 is dynamite. The 50 is also really nice. The 100 macro is a phenomenal lens. Um, I try to not to, as much as I'm a gearhead, I don't want people to get caught up in, you can do a lot with a little. One portrait lens on the 35 millimeter side of things, or the DSLR side of things, that I recently have been really loving is a lens called the Petzval Lens, Petzval, Petzval Lens. It's a kind of an It's from the 1800s, and if they've reimagined the optic to work with DSLR, and it's just beautiful. The bokeh is amazing, and it's really pretty cool. So sorry for a long answer.
There was also a question in there about the last two portraits that you had were kind of tilted. And people were
Right.
wondering whether you kind of tilt those photos a little bit on purpose, whether that's kind of an artistic thing, and whether you do it in camera or you do it after you're done shooting.
Right. No, I have a bad leg. No, I'm just kidding. Um, I do it, and I don't do it all the time. And if you see, if we jump back out to the overall images that I selected, I think it's something. It's a judgment call. It is something that I typically do in camera. I always feel weird doing it. Um, Sometimes I'll correct in post if there's a tilt that I don't like and it's not working. But typically, if there is a tilt, it's something that I created in camera and it's going to work because it's I saw it when I was capturing the image. And it's definitely for artistic effect. It's not something that you want to overuse. So apologies if I showed you two images that were tilted.
One of the last questions that I want to ask you, and this is probably my favorite because I think it'll be a really good one. Um, you mentioned that you do a lot of different types of work. I mean, you're showing wedding photos, and you
Right,
talked about doing fashion and commercial work. What do you think for
right,
you is the most fun and one of the most innovative parts of portraiture? So, like, do you prefer to shoot a certain thing because you have a little bit more leeway to shoot, or do you prefer, weddings over basic lifestyle portraits and that kind of thing? I think there were a
sure.
couple people who are really wondering what you really like to shoot best because you have very interesting and very dramatic portraits just by the way that you shoot. So what do you feel
Right.
like gives you the most leeway?
Well, that's a great question, and the answer to that is, without reservation, I like to shoot, commercial work or portrait work because it's a slower, more deliberate workflow. It allows me to really utilize all the skills and that I've worked hard to cultivate, and my temperament, which is more technical. And I like to indulge, my passion for lighting. A lot of that is not something that you really can do at a wedding. I can't really bring all that stuff to bear, or if I can, it's only for a very small portion of the day. Um, and plus, I really love working with a team. I like concepting. I think the more people that you have working with you, the better your images are going to be. The more production value you can throw at your images, the better that they're going to be. So maybe next time we'll just focus on my commercial work. But yeah, I love doing the commercial work. I love the editorial work. And even to a lesser extent, the portrait work is pretty much the same thing because there's not as much of a team kind of thing because typically there's no art director. It's not for an editorial, but you can really do lighting and if you and I like to bring a team for that stuff as well, like makeup and hair, and really make it the real deal.
All right, you guys, it is just about to turn noon here Pacific Standard Time, so it's about 3 o'clock on the East Coast. So we're unfortunately going to have to head out, but thank you so much, Michael, for doing this today. It was awesome to see all of your work and kind of go through what you do as far as your process. It's always really exciting to be able to see how other photographers work.
You bet, absolutely. And thanks to everyone for coming along. Be sure and check out that discount code, nice 20% off code. Liz, you gonna throw that up again for everyone?
I am. I'm going to show my screen for you guys one more time. It might take a minute to load, and I'm just going to put up that code. Everybody should be able to see it right now. Just in case for some reason you can't see my screen, it is CORST 20. CORST 20. And you guys can use that for 20% off in our store. So if you need an upgrade, if you want to buy a new version of the suite, if you don't own the suite, but you're really just interested in buying, perfect black and white or maybe perfect portrait, any of those different things, you guys can get 20% off. So go ahead and use this code in the store and you'll be able to get that discount, which is really, really nice. So I'll go ahead and leave that up here for just another moment, but Michael and I are going to head out. We're going to turn our microphones off and kind of head out. If there's anything else you guys need from onOne Software, do not hesitate to contact us. Our information is on our website at ononesoftware.com. We do have fabulous customer service, so you can email us or call us, and we'll be able to help you guys out with any problems that you might have. So thank you guys so much for showing up today, and hopefully we will see you in future webinars.
Thanks for coming, guys. Come on back. I'll be doing lots more of these.